I'm Pastor Mike Bergman of Country Estates Southern Baptist Church. As Chuck was talking about relating the incident as Tom was on his way home about seeing his parents again, if Tom were still here, he would probably say it was my Sunday night sermon that pushed him over the edge. I can't tell you what a joy it was to have Tom and Jean, still Jean, here as part of our church family. Tom added a lot of levity and joy to our family, and we're going to miss him very, very dearly. And I can tell you, as an ex-military guy, that seeing those pictures of the P-38s in formation of World War II just brought chills to my neck, and of course taps as well. You know, as I remember Tom's statement about seeing his parents again, it was obvious to me that he was expecting some sort of a family reunion. And you know, it's sometimes sad that the most times that most families can really get together is on the occasion of the passing on of one of their loved ones. You know, at other times it just seems our schedules are so busy that we're not able to make the sort of adjustments to our schedules to be able to get together. But it's fitting that at the end of a person's life that a family make those sorts of adjustments. And I remember exactly the sermon I was preaching before that Sunday evening, as he and Jean were very faithful attenders on all of our service. It was from Matthew 12, and it was concerning Jesus' mother and brothers. And I preached that, and I guess that set him to thinking about who are his mother and who are his brothers, and seeing his family. But Tom clearly anticipated some sort of a family reunion. You know, as I observed their lives, and I remember when they first came to Country Estates, I don't believe there's a single individual I've seen more prepared for his passing than Tom. I remember after Tom and Jean came to the church, how one of the first things they did, they invited my wife Kathy and I over to eat. And you know, when you go over to eat after a Sunday service, you kind of expect some chit-chat, things like that. And Tom, being who he was, you know, in his rare form. But the reason they invited me over, and that was over 4 years ago, was to explain to me that he anticipated dying soon, and he wanted to let me know about their life. I don't know about you, but when you go over to somebody's house, you don't expect to be talking about them dying. And so that kind of caught me a little bit off guard. But that gave you a little sense that he was entirely comfortable with the fact that he believed his days, that the Lord had given him more days, and that he had prepared himself spiritually for his eventual passing. And of course, if you've ever been in their house, you know that their house is full of family pictures, and it's clear that family meant an awful lot to Tom and still to Jean. It's been a pleasure to get to meet the boys and to meet the rest of the family. Of course, we can all see the family resemblance. But family is indeed important, isn't it? It is. And so, as I was thinking about a fitting reminder of where Tom would likely be coming from, I was reminded of a text in Genesis chapter 25 that kind of sums up a kind of anticipation that Tom, I believe, actually felt. And it's what it is. It's a kind of the end of the story of the death of Abraham. Let me read to you from Genesis chapter 25, beginning at verse 7. I'm going to read just verse 7 and 8, and then kind of tie it in. Altogether, Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. Some translations say he was gathered to his fathers. You see, there's the anticipation, even as far back as Genesis, that our homegoing indeed was going to be a family reunion. And I believe Tom anticipated not only with his parents, but perhaps with others as well. And so the hope of some sort of a coming back together after having traveled this life and been separated by the curtain of death, one anticipates when one passes the bar, you would be reunited with your believing loved ones. Now, is this a biblical view? I believe it is. It's an entirely biblical view. And so as I look at these things, I see basically three aspects of this being gathered to our fathers. One, it's a planned reunion. The Bible says that we're all going to die and then the judgment. And so all of us, if we're really, you might say wise, we made plans for our eventual passing. Now, making plans for our passing is not simply making financial plans, although those are entirely called for. And you know, one of the things that it didn't surprise me, Tom and Jean had already written out his obituary. He had everything planned, didn't he? He did. And so he planned to pass from this life. And anyone who plans to pass from this life, given the fact that our society tends to try to extend the youth of life with all sorts of artificial means, Tom felt himself pretty handsome the way he was. But he did plan this. He planned to pass on. And my brothers and sisters, I suggest you plan to pass on as well. Not in a maudlin sense to be preoccupied with something that brings sorrow, but to know the eventuality is eventually going to come. We all, unless the Lord returns, are going to die. I suggest you make plans for your passing, much like Tom did. And his assurance that he belonged to Jesus brought great comfort to him. And I suggest, if you allow him to, he will bring great comfort to you as well. Many people are not planning for this eventual passing. But it's not only a planned reunion,